Have you ever wondered if, ancient religious texts could have clues about how the universe began?
That's a fascinating thought.
Yeah, so today we're diving into the Quran.
Okay.
It's a text that's over 1,400 years old,
Wow.
and we're going to see if it has any insights into the Big Bang Theory.
Interesting.
So we're looking at excerpts from an online discussion that explores this idea.
Gotcha.
So just to get us all on the same page,
Sure.
can we just quickly recap what the Big Bang Theory even is?
Yeah, absolutely.
It suggests that the universe, as we know it, began from an incredibly hot
Right.
and dense state,
Mhm.
and then it rapidly expanded over billions of years
Billions and
to
billions.
form the galaxies and stars,
Right.
and eventually planets.
Like ours.
Yeah, like our...
Exactly.
Okay, so the Quran,
Yes.
it's a source of spiritual guidance and wisdom for Muslims.
Yes.
And it's not a science textbook,
Right.
but it does encourage reflection on the wonders of creation.
On the wonders of creation, exactly.
Okay, so there's this one particular verse,
Okay.
Surah Al-Anbiya 21.3,
Mm-hmm.
and this has caught the attention of people who see a potential connection to the Big Bang.
Interesting.
So it reads, "Do not those who disbelieve see that the heavens and the earth were a closed-up mass? Then we opened them out, and we made from water every living thing. Will they not then believe?"
Wow.
So to really appreciate this verse, we need to think about the historical Quran.
Yeah.
Imagine the world 1,400 years ago.
Right.
The prevailing ideas about the universe
Yeah.
were so different from our modern understanding.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what were some of the prevailing ideas back then?
Well, a lot of cultures actually believed in a static universe where the heavens and earth were fixed, unchanging.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so the idea of the universe originating from a single point and expanding outwards,
Right.
that would have been pretty revolutionary,
Yeah.
mind-blowing, really.
So in that context,
Yeah,
how would somebody have interpreted this verse
that's a great question.
about a closed-up mass being opened out?
It's a really good question because it really challenges us to think outside our modern scientific framework.
Right.
For someone living in the 7th century, this verse might have evoked images of a primordial state
Or,
where the heavens and the earth were joined and then separated by a divine act.
I see.
It doesn't necessarily align with the scientific details of the Big Bang as we understand it today,
Yeah.
but it does present this concept of a universe with a distinct beginning.
Okay, yeah, I'm starting to see how the interpretation can really change depending on your perspective.
Absolutely.
But going back to the verse,
Yeah.
phrase closed up mass,
Yeah.
it really sounds kind of similar to the scientific concept of a singularity,
It does.
that point of infinite density the
Right.
universe supposedly expanded from.
Right, and that's what makes this connection so intriguing.
It is.
The Quran uses language that, while not scientifically precise, really resonates with the basic idea
Right.
of a universe emerging from a single, incredibly dense point.
It's like the Quran is painting a picture with broad strokes,
Yes.
leaving room for different interpretations.
Exactly, and it's that metaphorical language that allows us to connect that ancient wisdom
Right.
with modern scientific discoveries.
But what about the second part of the verse, where
Okay.
it mentions water as the basis of all life? That
Right.
seems pretty scientifically accurate, even
Yeah.
for 1,400 years ago.
It's pretty remarkable, considering what they knew about biology at the time,
Yeah.
to highlight water's essential role.
So we know now that water is crucial for all life forms.
Absolutely. I mean, human cells are about 70% water.
Wow.
And it just plays a vital role in countless biological processes.
So even though the Quran wasn't intended to be a science textbook,
Right.
it does seem to contain observations about the natural world
It
that
does.
align with our modern understanding.
Yeah, it does. And it leads to the question,
What's odd?
is this just a coincidence? Or does it point to something more profound?
Right, because some people argue that any apparent alignment between the Quran and science is just retrofitting.
Right.
We're just interpreting the text to fit modern knowledge.
Yeah, so are we just forcing the Quran to say what we want it to say? I don't think it's that simple.
Okay.
The Quran, it doesn't make explicit scientific claims,
Okay.
but the way it uses metaphorical language, it allows for different layers of meaning to emerge over time.
So it's less about literal scientific predictions
Yeah,
and more about encouraging contemplation and reflection
precisely.
on the universe
Yeah.
and our place in it.
The Quran It invites us to ponder those mysteries of creation, to seek knowledge from various sources, be it through observation, experimentation, or even revelation.
This verse has definitely given us a lot to think about.
It has.
But I understand there's another verse.
Yes.
Surah At-Dariyat 51.47.
That's right.
That seems to speak even more directly to the concept of an expanding universe.
We'll delve into that next. But before we move on, I'm curious, what stands out to you so far? What are your initial thoughts on this potential connection between the Quran and the Big Bang?
Honestly, it's pretty awe-inspiring, to think that a text this old could align with modern scientific concepts.
Yeah, I agree.
It really challenges my assumptions about faith and science.
I think that's what makes this so enriching, encourages us to think differently and consider new perspectives. So you mentioned that other verse, Surah Ad-Dariyat 51.47.
Yeah.
It reads, "And the heaven, we have built it with power, and indeed, we are expanding it."
Wow, that's pretty direct.
It is.
It almost sounds like it's from a science textbook or something, describing the expansion of the universe.
It really aligns with what we know today, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
In the early 20th century, Edwin Hubble, he observed that distant galaxies are moving away from us.
Yeah.
And the farther away they are, the faster they're moving away.
Right.
And that observation led to the Big Bang Theory, which explains this expansion.
So this Quranic verse predates that discovery by
centuries.
By centuries.
Is there like a particular word in the original Arabic that emphasizes the idea of expansion?
There is. The word is muziun.
Okay.
Which implies a continuous and ongoing expansion.
So it's not just a one-time thing.
No, it's a dynamic process.
Wow.
That's still happening.
That's incredible. To think that this concept, was articulated so long ago.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder what other scientific insights might be hidden within these texts.
Yeah, but I think the key takeaway isn't about proving or disproving scientific theories with religious texts. It's more about recognizing that different ways of knowing can coexist.
Yeah.
And even complement each other.
It's that appreciating both science and religion.
Absolutely.
And how they both contribute to our understanding of the universe.
Exactly.
But how do we reconcile these seemingly different viewpoints?
Yeah, that's a good question.
For some, these connections might reinforce their faith.
Right.
While others might just see them as coincidence. Or just metaphorical interpretations.
Right.
So how do we navigate those different perspectives?
I think that's where respectful dialogue and open-mindedness are so important.
Yeah.
We need to acknowledge that not everyone will interpret these connections in the same way.
Right.
And that's okay.
Yeah, it's about respecting different interpretations.
Yes.
And recognizing that both scientific and religious perspectives have a place.
Absolutely.
In our understanding of the world.
This has been quite a deep dive, hasn't it?
It has.
What struck you as particularly thought-provoking?
I think for me, it's just the idea that, these ancient texts can still be so relevant.
Yeah.
And spark these thought-provoking discussions today.
That's true. It's like a bridge.
Yeah.
Connecting us to the past.
Yeah.
To different ways of thinking.
It highlights our human curiosity,
Absolutely.
We've always wanted to understand the universe.
Of course, it's a fundamental question.
And these texts show us how people in the past tried to answer the same questions.
It's fascinating.
So for our listeners who are really interested in this connection between the Quran and modern science, where would you recommend they go to learn more?
Well, the best place to start is with the source material itself.
Okay.
Read the verses we discussed.
Yeah.
Look into the Big Bang Theory. And maybe explore some scholars who've written on this topic.
Okay, so it's like a starting point.
Yeah, and it's important to approach this with an open mind,
Right.
Willing to consider different perspectives.
Yeah, you might be surprised by what you find.
You really might. The journey of discovery is often just as rewarding as the destination.
This deep dive has definitely been a journey.
It has.
And I think it's given us more questions than answers.
It probably has.
But maybe that's a good thing.
I think so.
It opens up these new avenues of inquiry.
Exactly.
It encourages discussion.
And that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah, it's about understanding that knowledge can come from so many different places.
Absolutely.
And having multiple perspectives can only enrich our understanding.
Of everything.
So to everyone listening, keep those minds open.
Yes.
Keep asking questions.
Always.
And keep exploring.
There's a whole world out there.
Well said, and that wraps up another deep dive.
Another one.
I don't know about you, but I'm feeling inspired to do some more exploring myself.
Me too.
Until next time, happy deep diving.
Happy deep diving, everyone.